Good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss about demographic profile of India. What is the meaning of demography? Demography means it is systematic study of population, because it's very important to study the population of any one particular society for the development of the society, for the policy making, as well as for the any plannings or economic development. It is very important to study the population of that particular society. First we will know about how the word demography has been derived. So here we could find that it is derived from two Greek words, that is demos and graphin. Demos means it is people and graphin means describe. So together it means description of people. So demography, the meaning of demography is description of people, studying about the people of that particular society. It may be economic, social, political or any background. What we study about them, because it is very important for the development. That is called as demography. Okay. Then it mainly studies about size of the population, pattern of that society, that is birth, death and migration, then also structure and components of that particular society, and what are the responsible reasons for the birth, death as well as the migration, and for the changes in the society, what are the things have been responsible in the society that we study in demography. Then there are varieties of demography, but here we could find there are mainly two different varieties, that is, one is formal demography and social demography. So first one is formal demography. What is formal demography? Formal demography means it is concerned about the measurement of that particular society. That is quantitative measurement of that particular society. Quantitative analysis means it is mainly concerned about the size of the population of that particular society. And also here we can see that it is very important to know the size, because we had to know whether the population is increasing or whether the population is decreasing, whether we have a population growth or we have any problems, whether the population is decreasing of that particular society. That is called as formal demography. And the second one is social demography. Social demography means it studies about the different social structure of that particular society. That is, it mainly focuses on social, economic, political aspects of that particular society. That is called as social demography. Then it inquires about causes and consequences of population structure. What are the causes and consequences for the population structure of that particular society? So these are the things it studies under social demography. So there are mainly two different types of demography, that is, one is formal and one is social. Formal demography, it studies about quantitative measurement, and the second one is social demography. It studies about the different aspects of the society, social, economic and political aspects. Next one, we'll move on to census in India. What is census? Census is where we are going to gather the information of that particular society, that is 10 years once, which we could find. 10 years once, what we do, especially in Indian society, when we see 10 years once we have the census, so we gather the information of that particular society. So here the collection of social statistics is called as census. The American census of 1790 was called as the first modern census of the world. That is, in 1790, American census was the first modern census of the world. Then after that we can see that European countries have been adopted that, so that moves on like that. Then when the Britishers came to Indian society, they introduced the census system in the Indian society. So when the British Indian government introduced the census in India, they organized the census in 1867 to 72. So this was the first census which took place in Indian society. Then after that we can see that regularly, so 10-year once we could find the census has been taken place in the Indian society. But now we can see the census has been taking place here. So 10 years once regular census started in 1881. Then after that till now we could see that after the independence, 1881 it was the British period which we could find. Then after that, after the independence, we could find that in the Indian society till now, till 2011, 7 decimal census have been taken place since 1951. Recent census is 2011 census which had been taken place. Next one is 2021 census we'll have. Then important things in the census is, census report is very important for the society, because for the planning of the society as well as for the policy making, then economic development as well as the general public welfare, this is very important. If we have the census report, then we can decide that where we are lacking of, where we have a problem with the development, and where we had to implement the programs. So depending on the census report, we can implement the programs, and with that we can see the development of the society. For this, census report is very important. Next one is characteristics of demographic profile of India. So in this we have 6 major characteristics. First one is size and growth of Indian population. Second one is birth and death rate. Third one is age structure of India's population. Fourth one is sex ratio of India's population. Fifth one is increasing literacy rate in Indian society. Sixth one is increasing rural-urban differences. So these are the 6 major characteristics of Indian population. Well, let us see one by one. First one is size and growth of India's population. It's very important to know the size of any one particular society for any development. It's very important to know the size of the population, because some countries we can say they have a population is less, and in some countries we could find the overpopulation. So here we could find in the world, Indian society is called as the second most populous country in the world, next to China. Then after that we could find in 2011 census, that is the recent census which we have, the India's population is 121 crores. Then especially we could find in 1911 to 1921 we had the negative rate of growth of the population. Before that, when we started the census in 1881, the British started, and from there when we see the census report, we could find the increase in the population growth. But only in 1911 and 1921, we had the negative effect on the growth of the population. It was minus 0.03% negative rate which we could find. And this is because of influenza epidemics which we had because of that. Like for example, we can see we had cholera, plague, so all these were the some of the epidemics which we could find. So it was incurable diseases. So medicines was not there. So because of that, we could find automatically the death rate increased in the society. So the growth, it affected on the growth of the population. And the next one is, but overall all these things, after 1951 census, when we see the report, population is increasing. But annual report, when we see annual growth rate of the population, when we see, it is decreasing. But still we can see in this developed world, India is called as a second most populous country in the world. And the second point, we'll move on to birth and death rates. Birth and death rates of Indian society. So this is also very important to know. because in 1911 to 1921 it was affected on the society, it was affected on birth rate as well as the death rate. But in 1931, before that, it was death rate was more as well as the birth rate as well as the death rate, both was more. But after 1931, both was, we could find that it was automatically there was some balance between these two. So in this, after transition movement, from 1911 to 1921, the death rate increased. So 1921 called as the changes in the Indian society. So that is called as the transition movement in the society. That is, death rate decreased in the society, birth rate started increasing. So birth rate, it went on in the same ways, but the death rate automatically it decreased, because we could find that in 1921 they started controlling the epidemics which we had in the society. That is plague, cholera, all the smallpox, all these are some of the diseases which we had. So these, we could find that medications they started introducing and they started controlling these diseases. So because of that, 1921 is called as a demographic dividend. So this year, 1921 year is called as a demographic dividend, where we can see it brought the changes to the Indian society, because it started controlling the death rates in the Indian society. Because of that, 1921 year is called as a demographic dividend. Third one, age structure of Indian population. In Indian society, the population of India, when we see here, younger generation of people are more comparing to the people below 15 years as well as people above 60 years. So in this we can see that age group less than 15 years or 42% in 1971, and in 2011 it is 29%. Of the age group, the people who come below 15 years. So 15 to 60 years age group, that is the working people, young generation of the people, they are increased to from 53% to 63%, they have been increased. And the people above 60 years, 60 plus, the number of population is small. Comparing to the people of the working people, the 60 plus age group is small. So this we could find that this is the benefit, the population, the working people especially here, the people from 15 to 60 years, they are called as the working people. That is the labor force which we have in Indian society. So it's very important to use this population for the development of the country. So how do we use this? So that is very important here. So next we'll move on to demographic dividend. So what is the meaning of demographic dividend? Demographic dividend means population advantage due to the numerical domination of the young population. So a country which has a more number of young population, that is called as demographic dividend. So that we could find in the Indian society. We have the more number of young people are in the Indian society comparing to the old people 60 plus as well as the children below 15 years. So children less than 14 years and above 65 years, they are considered as a dependents. They depend on the working people, because we could find that the children till 14 years, that is compulsory education, children they study in the schools, for each and everything they had to depend on the working people. And the people above 65 years, 60 plus, they are called as a dependent one, because even we can see physically they are weak and they are not able to work. So and all the government offices, all these things, when we take, the retirement age is 60. So because of that we call them as a dependent ones. Even they depend on the working people. Then India is supposed to benefit from this demographic dividend. So it has to get the benefit from the demographic dividend. It has to use the young force, it has to use the labor force from the younger people, and it has to develop the society. That is very important here. So because in India we have the working population is more comparing to any other population in the society. Working population is more in the present Indian society. So we have some suggestions which we can see that, so where we had to apply these things. So first one, India is youngest country comparing to any other country of the world. So here we can see we have in the world many countries which have been existed from the very long time. In that India is also one of the youngest country, which we call that. Then in 2020, in this particular year, average Indian will be 29 compared to 37 in China, 45 in West Europe. So here comparing to the other countries, in 2020 average Indian will be 29 years. So here large growing labor which we could find we have in the Indian society. So it's very important to use the labor force in the Indian society because we have large number of people. And the second one is the actual growth rate. In the Indian society, it is increasing, which we can find that the growth rate of the Indian society is changing. And if we have to utilize this young people, means it's very important that they had to be facilitated with something. Especially we can say education and employment is very important. If we provide them education and employment, then automatically we can see that they contribute to the society's development. And the third one, the total dependency ratio fell from 79 in 1970 to 64 in 2005. So that is the changes we can see, that dependency ratio automatically it fell down because the population changed in the society. The age group 15 years, below 15 years as well as above 65 years, we have a changes there. So because of that we could find that 79 in 1970 to 64 in 2005, and it may fall to 48 in 2025, and it may increase in the future. By 2050 we can expect that it will increase, the dependency ratio will increase because this younger population automatically will move to the older age, which we can see, so that the dependency ratio will increase. Then fourth one, it is a suggestion that to use younger force for the development of the society. We may miss out some things there where we can see that when we miss out the younger force for the development of the society, the potential benefits which they can bring to the society we may miss out. So it's very important that if we use the labor force in the Indian society, especially the younger population which we have in the present Indian society. So now we can see if you give some important education as well as the employment to these people, then automatically we can see they will contribute to the development of the society. So that it's very important that we had to use the demographic dividend is more in the Indian society. Younger population are more. So if we use the younger population, that will contribute to the development of the Indian society. Fourth one, declining sex ratio in India. So sex ratio is also one of the indicator of population of the society. So what is the meaning of sex ratio? Sex ratio means the number of females per 1,000 males. For 1,000 males, how many females are there in the society? That is called as sex ratio. So in the Indian society, we doesn't have a balanced ratio here. So always we could see that female percentage is lesser comparing to the male. So here we could find in 1961 it was 941. From there it fell to 927 in 1991. So that is the difference which we can see. So in 1961 it was 941. The percentage of the population here for 1,000 males, 941 females were there. In 1991 census, when we see here, for for 1000 males it is only 927 female. So there is a changes from 61 to 91. Then according to 2011 census, so for 1000 males there are 940 females in the Indian society. Then here we can see that, so this is the overall ratio which we can see. But when we see the policy makers as well as the people who are public thinkers, so all these people when we see here, they studied about the society and they identified the problems in the society. That is, one main problem is child sex ratio is drastically falling in the Indian society. We have a major problem in the child sex ratio. That is, here we can see that from 1991 to 2001 census when we take here. So it is increased to 6 points. That is 1927 to 933. So that is the changes which we can see. 1991 census, child sex ratio was per 1000 males, 927 females which we can see, female children. Then here in 2001 census, we could find that the changes which we can see, it has been increased to 933. But when we see the 2011 census, that is the recent census which we have, when we see the report of that, and the child sex ratio, we have the 13 points drop out. That is, from 927 it is dropped out to 914. That is, 13 points have been dropped out from 1991 to 2011. So that is the problem which we could find between the male as well as the female ratio. We have the imbalance between these two. Then here we can see there are many reasons for this. In that, one main problem which we can see, desire for male progeny, where we can see that they expect the male children in the families. So there are many cultural issues as well as some of the beliefs which we can see. As well as Indian society is called as the patriarchal society, more importance is given to the male than the female. So here, for example, in some of the states like Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, Punjab, Karnataka, so in these places we can see boys get preferential treatment comparing to the girls. They are boys are given more importance comparing to the girls. As well as in some districts of Tamil Nadu, that is Erode, Salem, Dindigul, then Dharmapuri and Nilgiris, we could find that highest female feticides which we could find. Highest number of female feticides, that is, female children are killed in the womb of the mother. That is, we could find in the, that is called as unnatural deaths which we could find. So it may be in a different ways with poisoning a child, or in a different ways which we could find the children are killed. So that it is affecting on the population of South Indian society. Then with that, so here imbalance in sex ratio in Belgaum, Mandya, then Vijaypur and Yadgiri. So these are the districts of Karnataka. In Karnataka districts, we could find child sex ratio. We have the imbalance in these, especially that is the major one which we are talking about. That is Belgaum, Mandya, Vijaypur and Yadgiri. And here we could find Kolar is one of the districts here. So where we could find, it is called as the highest female feticide district. Because for 1000 male children, there are 979 female children which we could find. So there are more number of female feticide in Kolar. To develop the society which we can say, government have been implemented different types of programs, especially to maintain the status of the women as well as to develop the women. We could find that there are many number of programs have been implemented from the government of India. So here we can find in Karnataka, they have selected Vijaypur district to implement a program, that is Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. This is one of the program have been implemented from Government of India to empower the children, because dropout of the children in the schools was more. To overcome this problem, they implemented this particular program. Then with that we can see that to empower girl children, there are one particular scheme has been launched, that is Sukanya Samruddhi Yojana. It has been launched on 22nd 1/2015. So these are some of the programs which we can see. So they have been implemented this program to maintain the status as well as to decrease the female feticide as well as balance the children in the society, balance the child sex ratio in the society. So this program have been implemented. So now presently we can see that many children, they have taken up this, and dropouts we can see that it is little bit it is decreasing in the society. Next one is Dimaru versus Dimaru. So in this we could find the population of Indian society according to 2001 census. When we take here, some states have been contributing more to the population, and because of that some of the problems have been faced by the Indian society. So what is Bimaru? Bimaru means dominance of Bimaru states are more in the Indian population. That is, Bimaru means Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. And because of these states, it is affecting on the population of the society, because their contribution to the population is like this: 39% of India's population, then 42% of growth, as well as 48% of illiterate population is from this Bimaru states. And this is the contribution of the contribution to the population. And Dimaru means D stands for daughter, Maru stands for killing, and in English E stands for elimination. So Dimaru means killing of daughter. So this is more in some of the states of Indian society, that is Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. And these states stands for Dimaru. So in these states we could find that there are more number of female feticides. Then here we can see that there are many different ways which we can see, especially we can see presently because of the medical development which we have, so we can predetermine the sex of that particular child. So whether it is the male or whether it is the female. So we use the sonography. So through that they determine that whether the child is male or female. So through identifying this, we could find that if it is the female child, we could find the abortions takes place, and because of this it affects on the child sex ratio. Then here we can see according to 2001 census, 0 to 6 year age group in different states, we have the differences here. In Punjab it declined from 875 to 793. Then here in Haryana it declined to 879 to 820, and in Delhi it declined to 915 to 865. So the decrease of the population, the child sex ratio, we could find that there is a decrease in the population. Female children, we can see there is a decrease. Then in child sex ratio in 1991, actual sex ratio of Indian society according to the 1991 census, when we take here, for 1000 male it was 927 female, and in 2001 it was 933 female. But when we take the child sex ratio of this particular census report, we have a changes there. According to 1991 census, child sex ratio was 945, and here according to 2001 census, the child sex ratio was 927 for 1000 male children. So there is a changes from 1991 to 2001 census, because in 1991 we could find that sex ratio, actual sex ratio when we take here for 1000 males, females when we take here, it was 927, it was less compared to 2001 census. But when we take the child sex ratio, we have a difference there. 1991 it was more, 2001 it is less. Then we could find that in some of the states which we can see that has been, there are more number of child abortions, then there are many problems which we could find. So we have a difference in the child sex ratio. In that, some of the states which we can see, that is Punjab, it is 793, in Haryana, then some of the states like Delhi. So all these states which we can see, this it is also decreasing the child sex ratio. Then we could find in some of the states like Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Karnataka, or they are below 950 for 1000 males. So below 950 which we can see, there are some states, and Kerala we say that. So there is a increase in the sex ratio actually. So when we take the whole census report here, when we say here, we could find for 1000 male there are more than 1000 female. According to 2011 census we can see that there are 1084 female. But child sex ratio when we see here, so that is also less in Kerala, that is for 1000 male children there are 963 female children. Then we can see the highest child sex ratio we could find in Sikkim, that is 986 for 1000 male children. So that is the changes which we could find in the society. So the difference in the sex ratio which we have in the society, so that will affect on the population of the country. We have imbalanced sex ratio. So imbalance between the male as well as the female population. So that will also affect on the population of the society. Factors responsible for child sex ratio. There are three main factors. First one is sex specific abortions, that is female infanticide. So they are particular with that they need a male children specially which we can see, so that what we have decrease in the female children. So there is an imbalance between these two. Then second one is severe neglect of girl babies. So sometimes which we can see in some of the families where they neglect the girl children, especially the infants are neglected in the families, so that we could find that it will lead to the deaths. Sometimes because of some illness, if they are not treated properly, so and also because of problem of malnutrition, so if they are not given proper food, because of these things it will lead to the death. Then the third one is misuse of prenatal diagnostic test, that is where we can see that we use where we are trying to identify a sex of a baby. So when we try to identify a sex of a baby, then if the child is female, then we can see that we try to abort the children. So because of that we could find that it is affecting on the child, as well as we could find that we are especially in the Indian society, we have a view that because it is a patriarchal society, we give more preference to the male children. So because of that particular belief what we have, we could find that they diagnose the child through the sonography. If the child is the female child, we could find they are trying to abort the children. So these are some of the factors which are responsible for decrease in the female children sex ratio. The next we'll move on to the fifth point, that is increasing literacy rate of Indian population. So now we could find the population of Indian society, when we see from after the independence, we could find 1951 when we start the census. Now already it is the 7 decades which we can see, already 7 censuses have been taken place here. So in all these census reports, there is a changes in the literacy rate also for male as well as the female literacy rate. Here we could find that literacy rate for women comparing to the men, it is 22%, it is lesser. And female literacy has been increasing from 2001 to 2011 census which we could find. So in 2001 we could find 54.2% of literacy rate, and in 2011 census it is 65.4% female literacy rate. Then here we can find that female literacy rate is increasing every census which we have the changes there. Then male literacy rate, when we compare here, 2001 census it was 75.9% and 2011 census it is 82.1% male literacy rate. So this is the changes which we have here. From one census to another census we have the changes in the literacy rate comparing to the 1951 census. Now we could find there is changes in the literacy rate. Then overall 2011 census report, when we see here, we have 74.04% literacy rate in Indian society. As well as we could find the people, if they are literates, so that will help the society. So that we have different schemes. Now we can see, for example, it's compulsory education till 14 years, where free and compulsory education, where the child can go to the school and get the education freely. So that this is to improve the literacy rate of the society. This will help the society for the development. Next we will move on to the sixth point, that is increasing rural-urban differences. So we have the difference in rural and urban areas. So now past, when we see here in Indian society, rural areas was more comparing to the urban areas. Now when we see the 2011 census, 68.8% of the population they live in rural areas and 31.2% of the population they reside in urban areas. So this is the population where they live, rural as well as the urban areas. But here we can see urban population has been changed from 1951 to 2011. In 1951, 17.3% of the people were living in urban areas. Now 2011 census, 31.2% of the population they live in urban areas. So why the people started migrating to urban areas? Because of the development which we have in the urban areas, industries which has been introduced because of urbanization, modernization. Indian society has been changed and people have been attracted to the urban life. So that we could find the people started migrating to the urban areas and they started taking the residence in the urban areas, so that the population in the urban areas started increasing. Then here we can see that we could find the changes in the rural as well as the urban areas now. So here agrarian rural way of life has been declined now and people are accepting the changes there. They are giving more importance to industrial urban way of life, where they need the modern way of life, where they get more facilities, where they are going to get more and more modernization in any particular place. So the people are moving towards to that. So the agrarian rural way of life has been decreased and now they are giving more importance to the industrial urban way of life. So that with that we can see that the population has been changed. The people now we can see that the more number of people are moving from rural to urban areas. So that is the changes, and we could find that in the urban areas the population is increasing. So this will also lead to a different types of problems also. Okay, now in this class we have studied about demographic profile of India. In that we discussed about characteristics of demographic profile of India. So there are 6 different characteristics which we discussed today, and we discuss some more topics in the further class. Thank you. Have a good day.